Joining us right now is John Barlow. He is MP out of Foothills. John, how's it going?
Good, John. How are you today?
Really good. So, who are you picking? Who do you think, John, should be on this special? Who would you pick to go on this special delegation to China to sort out the canola situation?
Well, I think first off, it's frustrating that the Prime Minister is strongly considering sending a delegation. I don't think they quite understand the urgency of this situation. This is something that should have been strongly and seriously considered a long time ago. But absolutely, I think you're right. Minister Freeland, Minister Carr, Minister Bibeau should also be part of that delegation. And if they're willing to take a conservative and even an NDP, I think that's strong. When it comes to these international trade agreements like NAFTA, like TPP, we do try and attack that as Team Canada. We try not to be too overly partisan on these types of issues. We know how important it is.
Yeah, John, I'm going to agree with you. I thought the Prime Minister's selection of words of possible was weak. I'm also somebody that doesn't necessarily believe that sometimes these missions can be more of a photo op than we're actually getting things done. And in this case, I think there's a lot of concern about the political overtones, and it's not exactly like the blackleg situation. At least it doesn't feel that way to me. Besides the mission to go over there, John, what are other things that the Conservatives have been encouraging the Liberals to do on this matter?
Well, I think number one is do something. They haven't talked about this. That this hasn't been a top priority for them. They initially blocked a discussion at the Agriculture Committee, but we do have an emergency meeting now on Friday. I think the fact that this doesn't seem to be a priority. Whether they don't understand that, this isn't a situation that's going to be facing Canadian producers at harvest. This is a situation they are facing now. This is, marketing products that have already been harvested, that are in the bin, waiting to be sold and transported. This impacts what they decide to seed this spring. These are incredibly important decisions that need to be made today, not in the future. So, we've asked them to be strong on this, take a strong stand, get over there and have discussions with your counterparts, because we know this is not a quality issue. This is a political issue, and they need to handle this with a political lens.
So last week we had, I've been getting calls from the audience and people very upset from across Western Canada. And, I think the thing that comes up the most is the mentioning of last week's dairy compensation, $3.9 billion in the federal budget for compensation to supply management. And we saw in the U.S., we saw the MFP payments, $12 billion was the total. I don't know if all that money actually got distributed, but it's in that ballpark for compensating growers in the U.S. for market losses due to the trade skirmish. Are the Conservatives pushing this government to provide compensation to canola growers if this continues?
No, that's not something that we've talked about, and we don't want to pit one sector of agriculture against another. What we've been pushing for is to find a resolution to this as quickly as possible. And again, we are very confident that this is not a quality issue. Our producers grow the highest quality canola and other grains and oilseeds and best in the world. We believe that this is how Justin Trudeau has failed in his foreign affairs policies. Look at the track record now. Our pulses in peace to India, Saudi Arabia, durum wheat in Italy, now losing a major market in China, without any resolution to any of those in 3.5 years. You really have to wonder where agriculture stands as a priority. There are opportunities to try and address this, but again, it just doesn't seem that this is something they are taking seriously, and we're pushing very hard for them to take this seriously because this is 45,000 canola producers in Canada, 250,000 jobs. More than 40% of our exports in canola go to China. This isn't something that we can just turn around and find another market. This is something that we have resolved.
So I'm with you on India. No one will ever forget the dancing and the costumes. I'm with you on Saudi Arabia. This is one where what did the government do wrong since the U.S. was the U.S. requested the extradition of the CFO in the first place? So we saw, and on top of that, we saw Freeland, our Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland, was in D.C. yesterday talking to USTR Robert Lighthizer. I would assume that she had some pretty stiff language for the USTR when they got together in D.C.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I can't speak for Minister Freeland, but this goes back to when Prime Minister Trudeau went to China initially on his initial free trade trip, and he put on the table his value virtue signaling parties, and we know how the Chinese reacted to that. So I think he got off on a very wrong foot with China. But certainly to stick our nose in between a trade war between the United States and China was not, the most strategic move. And now they have to try and find a way out of this. And they have to show some intestinal fortitude here and not just hope this goes away. They have to try and take a strong stand here. Either that's in discussions with the United States to get an ally there to stand with us, or a delegation to China to try and resolve this.
Let's jump over to USMCA really, really quick. If there's producers across Canada that want, and the US for that matter, let's be honest about it. Agriculture wants this deal done. There was, of course, dairy probably has a bit of a different feeling, but let's just leave that aside for a second.
Yeah.
The ratification is really, it feels like it's a really unknown at this point. Canada's position is lift the Section 232s, or we may not ratify, or we won't ratify. I'm paraphrasing. Mexico has upped some of those tariffs in response, and the U.S. At this point doesn't seem to be able to get their stuff all together. Are you at all worried? Is the party worried that USMCA ratification in 2019 might be in jeopardy?
Yeah, I think it's something we absolutely have to be cognizant of. I think it would be foolish not to look long term, and the fact that it's taken this long to have it ratified, and it seems it goes slides further down the hill rather than going up to closer to a done deal. I think that is very disconcerting. This wasn't an easy negotiation from the get-go. Andrew Scheer and myself and a couple of our colleagues went to Washington last year. And again, we approached it as Team Canada. We wanted to show our united voice for how important the new NAFTA agreement was. But there were certainly our counterparts in the United States, as well as business leaders, voiced some concerns with some of the Canadian positions, and we're hopeful that this can still be done. There's no question that the United States, as much as we're talking about China right now, the United States is our number one trading ally, and we need to be on the right side of this, and having a deal with the United States is imperative.
Yeah. Hey, before I let you go, John, I got to ask you. We had sort of a marathon series of voting last week. Did you get some give us behind the curtain here very quickly? Were you on a cot in the hallway, or what were you doing?
No, we didn't have any. We didn't have any cots. The Liberals had cots, but that was their decision. We took shifts. There's quite a few of us that were there from start to end. I was there for I think 36 plus hours from start to finish. You try and get up, walk around, I'm a tea drinker. I drank as much tea as I could to stay awake. But we knew we were there for the right reasons. And in all honesty, Sean, it was the number of messages and texts and emails and Facebook posts that I had from not only constituents, but people across the country, encouraging us, saying, we're there with you. The Liberals and the Prime Minister were trying to corrupt our democracy, whether it's SNC-Lavalin or the canola issue. Canadians are frustrated that they are, shutting down debate, shutting down committees, and shutting down our parliament. And that's not right. And we had to take that stand.
Yeah, my favorite part was the clip of, I can't remember which of your colleagues called out the Prime Minister for eating in the House. And it was about a bagel, but the Prime Minister said he had a chocolate bar. And I had tweeted that, look at that, the Prime Minister is already not even following his own Canadian food guide. So
yeah, that's right. Well, and I think somebody else put out that, you're just not yourself when you're hungry, and give them a Snickers bar or something. So
You gotta have a few laughs when you're in the middle of a 48-hour vote. Hey, John, I really appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks, Sean.